Hello and welcome to the Bigger, Braver Life Show. I'm your host, Angela Marie Williams. As an entrepreneur and success coach, my mission is to empower you to realize your dreams and potential through transformational experiences. The purpose of this show is to inspire your positive change by learning from a community of those paving the way to a bigger, braver life. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, we have an amazing guest, Ryan Spence. I'm so excited that you're here with us. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Really good to be here. Thanks, Angela.
Yeah, no problem. I'm really excited for you to share your story. So I met Ryan through a mutual group where we are working on building our empires. So really excited to have this connection. And Ryan's got some great news and is going to share that today. But Ryan, I'd love to start by just having you introduce yourself and tell us all about yourself and the work that you do in this world.
Sure, no problem. So thank you for having me here. And yeah, it's great to be on the show. So as you said, I'm Ryan Spence. I'm a life coach, a speaker, and an author.
Where are you tuning in from today?
I'm in the UK. You may be able to tell from the accent, but yeah, I'm in the UK, a place called Sheffield, 3 hours north of London. And what I do with my clients is I help them gain clarity, boost confidence, and build courage so they can live life lit. That's what I'm all about, is living that lit life. The life where those moments of joy are more of the norm rather than the exception. And why that's important to me is I was a lawyer for 11 years in big law, so big international firm. I worked in London, then I moved out to Singapore. And in the last 5 years of my career, probably the latter half of my career, I knew that it wasn't for me. I just didn't feel like it was in alignment. But like most people, I just felt that I should do it. I couldn't do anything else. You feel stuck because everybody says you're successful, you're on the path that you should be on, and this is where you should go. And you're being paid well, you've got the status. But it still didn't sit right with me. But I just kept going because I just thought you just suck it up. This is what people do, right? So limiting beliefs kind of really kept me way down. I kind of wanted to do other things, but everything kind of kept coming back to law. I'd invested so much time and so much energy. And for me, it was Christmas 2018 when I drew that line in the sand. I was on holiday in Bali. We were living in Singapore at the time. We'd gone to Bali for Christmas. It's an amazing villa with our friends. It was going to be this really great holiday. We have New Year there. And I remember getting in the cab from the airport toward the villa. And I turned on my phone and there was an email from a client. And a deal that had been dead was now back alive. And they wanted to, not they, but the other side wanted to close it by Christmas, which basically meant I was going to be working on the holiday. And this wasn't the first time, but I was like, this is like the most amazing villa. I mean, I don't know what you can think of, but this like glass ceilings and pool and chef and I mean, all of that stuff. Really were treating ourselves. But I spent a lot of the holiday in the spare room working. And when I wasn't doing that, I was thinking about the call, thinking about the documents I had to draft, thinking about the deal. And I got on the flight back and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And that set me off on my quest to kind of figure out what I would do and how I could change my life.
Thank you for sharing that. So, wow, what a big revelation when you're trying to enjoy your life and take a break and then work comes back in and you're just kind of like operating off of that programming of like, oh, I just got to suck it up. I got to continue to do it until you can't anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people do just continue. And it's not as if I decided that was it and then everything changed for me. I had no idea. I still had those limiting beliefs. So it was a process of starting to figure out, how do I change this? And it came in probably not the way you would expect. So I started 2019 thinking, okay, I'm bored. I need to get a challenge. I need to shake myself out of this funk, like what I call a life of lethargy. And I was sort of scrolling on the internet one Friday afternoon in the office, and I saw there was an application to take part in a white collar boxing match, which is basically where you get a load of people who sit in an office all day and put them in a boxing ring and get them to fight.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, I'll give that a go. That's a challenge. And I signed up and then they got back to me and invited me to like the orientation and I went down. And I remember looking around the pub in Singapore where I was sat at the time, and there's like, yeah, there's loads of people here. They're not going to pick me. It's fine. It's kind of good to have got this far. Uh, and then I heard I got in the squad, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, it's fine. I'm pretty fit. It should be okay. And I remember the first week of training, we had 3 training sessions that week. And I got to the end of this week and I was like, yeah, I'm not fit. I really, this isn't going to work for me. I really need to do something. And so I hired a trainer, a personal trainer. And this just kind of set me off on this whole sort of shift in terms of my mental and my physical energy and my belief of what's possible, what I'm capable of. And so weirdly, boxing kind of took me on this whole journey. And then that led me back to my yoga practice, which I'd kind of let go before, which kind of then led me on this whole personal development quest. So it's funny how your physical, when you get your physical energy, you get you physically in shape, that can really help you mentally and really kind of help you to start to see a lot more clearly what it is that you want to do and where it is that you want to go.
100%. For anyone who's listening who has not done any sort of like kickboxing, boxing training, anything like that, you will be, if you do that, you may find yourself immediately tired, like within a first, maybe few minutes. Like it is the most strenuous type of training and exercise. I don't know if you would agree with that. That's been my experience.
Without a doubt. And that's the thing. I mean, I thought I was pretty fit. I used to go to the gym. I used to run. I did a bit of yoga. But once you kind of get, not even into the ring, just get to that initial bit of training, it's just like, oh, wow, it's like a whole other ball game. But the beauty of that is that you can't think about anything else. I couldn't think about the deals. I couldn't think about work. Like literally, I had to be focused on what I was doing. And even more so when they started to get us in the ring sparring, because if you're not focused, you're going to get hit in the face. And that doesn't feel good. Trust me, it really does not feel good.
Well, what's funny, so to the piece about that physical, so my dad used to be a boxer. So we've always had, boxing gloves and a bag, and we would, just kind of go, around a little bit. But you're right. Like you have to focus or you are going to get your butt kicked basically. So I grew up playing sports, volleyball, softball, tennis, all of that. And, I look back and I look at some of those moments and I think about the training that went in, before we got to the games. Like there was some pretty good conditioning and all of that. And it's like, those are the times where I had to push myself mentally to the extent of what my body could do. And a lot of those, sporting events or those physical pieces that, because when you're in a sporting event, it's not just about can you run? It's about strategy, right? It's about skill. It's about thinking about all of these things too. And those, I really look back at some of the most confidence producing times would be in those pieces where you had to combine your physical and your mental. So I love that you brought that up. It's so great.
Yeah, exactly. And you hit on a good point there with sort of confidence, because I started off with the fight. Like I went in thinking, okay, I just want to do well and I don't want to lose. And then very quickly that shifted, particularly when I got my trainer to, no, I want to win. And that shift in mindset, it doesn't sound like much, but it makes a huge difference, because then you're starting to forge that belief. And then once you have that belief, you feel that you can do anything. And that's why I say that whole process of training for that fight is really what got me into working on mindset and realizing the importance of mindset and realizing how shifting the way that you think about things can really change the trajectory of your life. So yeah, I really do credit that with getting me on that personal development quest and actually leading me to the point now where I help other people do the same thing.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for sharing. So mindset, we can talk about this all day, right? Because we're both in the coaching space. I'm also, therapist. So I'm doing this all day, every day. But I think you bring up such a good point that, we need to have those shifts. And if you heard his words, right, it went from, I don't want to lose. So, kind of more of that negative focus to I'm going to win. I want to win, right? So you have to bring forward the thing that you want. You have to be clear on what you want, bring that forward. and say that with confidence. And that impacts your emotional state, which impacts your behavior. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, no problem. And also, I guess the other thing that I would say with that shifting language is we focus so much on the end goal, which is good. We should have a goal. And full disclosure, I have to say, I didn't win the fight. I went the distance. I didn't get knocked down. So that was great.
Yes.
But what it made me realize is that actually, yes, you have a goal, but the goal kind of isn't really the point. It's who you become on the process of trying to achieve that goal. Yes. And in the process of trying to be somebody who would win that fight, I just changed completely, mentally, physically, the discipline that I had, the focus that I had, and just knowing that I could do hard things. I mean, that was the huge thing. I mean, getting in a boxing ring is no joke. For anyone that's done it, you'll know that. And 12-week training camp, changing your whole diet, giving up alcohol, training sort of twice a day. I mean, that takes a huge commitment and huge discipline. And you can't go through that without changing as a person. And so that was what then kickstarted me into becoming the person that I am now.
Tell us more about the journey to becoming a coach. So how did you know to say, okay, I'm going to work with mindset and be a coach and now an author? So yay, so excited for you. Yeah. So we want to hear all about that too. But yeah, tell us more about your journey getting to the coaching space.
Yeah, so I'd like to kind of give you this great story that, I had to fight and I won, and then I was great, and I was a changed man, and I became a coach and I lived happily ever after. But it was a lot more messy than that. Right. But I mean, 2019 was definitely a year of change, and then subsequent years have been years of change. But yeah, boxing, I continued with that for the entire year. It took me back to my yoga practice, which took me to a yoga retreat. Which then toward the end of the year, I got the chance to go to London for work. And I knew that when I came back to Singapore, there was potentially going to be layoffs. And what was great about that is that if I'd been told that a year before, I would have freaked out. I would have not known what to do. It would have been a really big deal. And for me, I was just like, this is amazing, because now I don't have to think about what I'm going to do when I leave and applying to other law firms. I don't have to continue those conversations. I can just get out and have this space to kind of really take some time to figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life. And I knew I wanted to help people in the position that I'd been in, who felt stuck in law, in corporate, but didn't really know how to get out, didn't feel that they could do anything else. I wanted to raise their ambition and help them see what's possible. And I thought I would do that by teaching yoga, because that really helped me. And I did. I got my yoga teacher qualification and I started teaching people in corporate, and I loved it. But people were saying to me, oh, you mean you're really good at sort of listening and really good at holding space. I then had a podcast, which people really resonated with, and people were saying you should coach. And I think I resisted coaching more than anyone could resist coaching, partly because everyone was saying they were a coach and I kind of like didn't want to do that. I wanted to do my own thing. I really loved teaching yoga. And I guess also looking back, there was probably a little bit of sort of fear as well. Who am I to coach people? What will people say? But once I let that go and I decided to sort of give it a go, I just dumped down everything that I'd done to get me from where I was to where I then was, and mentioned it to people. People were like, yeah, I want to go through that. Like, coach me, let me see how this goes. And I loved it. And I kind of really stepped into then being and calling myself the coach. And so then we moved back to the UK and I decided, yep, this is kind of what I'm going to do, and started the business and started building it from there. And I love it. And I love it because having that deep connection with someone each week for an hour, seeing that growth, seeing them change their view and their self-concept, and seeing them start to believe that the things which they thought were impossible for them are now possible, and seeing that path for how their life could be. I mean, for me, it's just so gratifying. And I used to talk about I made the decision to be a coach, but lately I've really been feeling that actually I didn't, is what I was sort of called to do, because I just really feel in my soul that this is kind of what I was here for. And I just love the feeling that I get from seeing those shifts and seeing those transformations.
I love that, because we've had a similar conversation with other guests on the show, that when you're an entrepreneur or you have a nonprofit or you have a mission or a message, it's like you're called and then it doesn't go away. So sometimes we might resist it, or we might, like you said earlier, push through because that's what we were taught or expected to do. And all the while, there's something more. Even if you don't know exactly what it is, it's always there's something more that you feel, pulled, drawn to. So love that. Please tell us more about your book and that whole process. I know we've got some folks that are interested in being an author or they are authors already, but yeah, I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the book. So, like most people, I always said I'd like to write a book. I mean, I've been saying that for years. I always liked writing as a kid, and it never happened. And it goes back to that thing about language. To say I'd like to write a book or one day I'll write a book, it will never happen.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just decided last year, I was like, no, I'm going to write a book. I felt that I had something to say. I felt that I worked with enough people to kind of really understand what their issues were. And I also had my own experience as well. And I kind of wanted to draw them together and sort of create sort of like a toolkit for people that they could pick up, read through, and at least go away and do the exercises in there to start to help them towards their own transformation. So that's kind of where the idea of the book came from. And I was already sort of basing my coaching on three foundational pillars, which are clarity, confidence, and courage. Because when I looked back, they were the three sort of things that kept coming up for me that helped me to kind of make that shift. Getting clear on who I was, what I wanted, and why I wanted it. Then getting the confidence and the belief that I could actually achieve the things that I wanted to achieve. And then getting the courage to take action. And to really kind of push forward, even though there was fear and discomfort there. And so that's kind of where I wanted the book to go. And so, yeah, that process is the Triple C method. That is then the name of the book. And yeah, the book's an interesting process because, again, going back to the whole thing where when you do something, you have the goal, but who you become trying to achieve that goal is almost the bigger thing. And I just became someone who wrote every day, and I sat down and I wrote. And I started to unpack some of the stories that I had from my past, some of the stories that I'd been telling myself. And it was a real journey. And I really, really enjoyed that. But it wasn't all plain sailing. When I finished the first draft, I was really proud of myself. And I went away for a weekend alone to a hotel, and I was going to sit and read the draft and edit it, and was really excited. And it was awful. And I span out, and I was just like, who am I? All the negative talk. Who am I to write? Who am I to kind of do this? Who's going to read this? But then I kind of got myself together, and I got a good team of people around me. I had a really good sort of book coach / editor, and we kind of helped me to kind of get it into shape and really tease out the stories, because that's what was missing. It was the stories of the transformation, the stories that led me to this point, and really kind of getting into that storytelling vein. And yeah, I kind of pulled the book together, got a few people to read it, got great feedback. And yeah, as we're recording this, it's been out now a couple of days, and I'm really, really pleased with what people are saying about it, who read it already, and excited to sort of see where it takes me. So if anyone's thinking of running a book, just do it. Like, don't necessarily think too far ahead about it. Just sit down and write. I mean, I've got 2 kids and a busy life, and I was sort of getting up at 5 a.m. and sitting down for an hour, 2 hours in the morning. And some days I'd write a sentence, it was really hard, and other days I couldn't stop writing. But that process of doing it day after day after day, it just kind of built that muscle. So yeah, it was a great process.
Yeah. And that whole piece about showing up anyway, I talk a lot about, and I think you can probably reflect this. And if anyone's listened to the show prior to this episode, they know I'm all about that confidence, clarity, and courage, and all the things that go into that transformation. But it's showing up anyway. And a lot of times I'm talking about that in terms of bravery and courage. But even when you don't want to, even when the mind garbage is showing up, even when you're tired, it's just like working out, right? You're going to see the results if you show up every day and build that habit. That's how you get to be the person you want to become, is showing up as that person every single day. That's how you're going to get that true transformation. So that's a wonderful example of that.
Yeah, and it comes back to that clarity as well. When you know what you want and why you want it, that will keep you going, because it's easy to give up. I mean, it's hard. Writing a book, starting a business, it's hard. Anyone who tells you different is lying. It's very hard. You know, I mean, the times when you put something out on social media and no one engages, or the times when you set up a live and no one attends, I mean, or whatever it may be, these things are going to happen. The question is, what are you then going to do about it? Is that the point where you throw your hands up in the air and say it's over? Or do you look and say, I see that vision. I believe that that vision is possible for me. So I've just got to keep going. And
Right.
if you can get that and force that, then it will come to you. Things will start to happen. Things have started to happen for me, which I never would have seen happening sort of 18 months ago. But the fact that I kept showing up regardless, even when I didn't feel like it, even when I thought no one was listening, is what's helped me now get to a place where people are starting to pay attention. People are starting to invite me onto shows like this, and people are starting to be interested in what it is that I have to say. So yeah, that's very, very good point.
Yes. There's a couple of things you said that really are important for people to hear. I'm constantly talking about how we do need to be aware of the things that we're thinking, that we're telling ourselves, the language we're using, the limiting beliefs that are coming up, those fears that are blocking, right? And a lot of the thing that I'll say is that thought of like, who are you to do this XYZ thing? And I think that comes from that. I've called this the insecure expert most recently, but it is, it's like, you have a message, you have the training, you have the experience, but yet there's still that fear and that doubt that come in, that imposter syndrome that can come up no matter where you are. So you've already done so many things, you were already writing the book, and yet still, right? So I think that's important to point out, is that no matter where we are in life, where we are in our journey, those things can pop up. And so it's so important to have the right support, like you said. It's so important to have the tools and the knowledge and the accountability to be able to overcome those, so that it doesn't crush the dream or cause us to run away or hide or do the things that will sabotage our success and the things we want.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you think you've done the work, but if you stop there, when you get to that next level, you're going to encounter the same issues. And so it's a continual process to do that work. That's why, as a coach, I still have a coach, because things will come up for me. And also, I'm too close to it. I'm in the thick of it. And I need someone who's kind of got that sort of overhead view, who can sort of point things out, which I can't necessarily see.
Yes.
And going back to your point on the negative self-talk, yeah, I mean, we all have that. And I have an exercise I talk about in the book, which is asking yourself, where's the evidence? As a lawyer, obviously, we talk about evidence. But when we tell ourselves these negative stories about what we can't do or why something isn't for us, it's asking yourself that question, well, where is the evidence to support that? And actually, I think when you start to do that, if you look back through what got you to where you are now, you'll see there is actual evidence for you overcoming hard things, evidence for you pushing through things which seemed quite difficult at the time or insurmountable at the time. So why not look back to that evidence to support the fact that you can go forward to get after the thing that you want, instead of taking the evidence from stories which actually are false? There is no evidence there. And so that's an exercise which I once I started using, it's like, yeah, actually, there's so much that I've done which can support me on this continual push forward. So focus on that. Don't focus on the voice inside of your head that's telling you can't.
Right. And going beyond that, it's about catching those thoughts that come up, the patterns, the programming that comes up, being aware of it. Because sometimes we get right to the emotion or right to the behavior part where we're like, oh crap, we messed this whole thing up. Or, I didn't show up for my business for 3 months. How did that happen? Right. And it's like, oops, we can't get that time back. But when you train yourself to be aware of that programming, that unhelpful thought, negative thought, whatever you want to call it, and then change it, that's what's going to help reprogram you to the positive and have less and less occurrences that, these things are going to come up and continue to control your life.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. I think you summarized it very well there. Yeah.
Thanks. Yes. So tell us the name of the book and where we can get it.
Sure. So the book is called The Triple C Method, subtitle Gain Clarity, Boost Confidence, and Build Courage so you can live life lit. And it's available wherever you get books. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Waterstones, Book Depository. And yeah, if you've got a local independent bookstore, then go in there and order it from there. Always good to support local wherever you can. I remember the day when I was waiting for the author proof to arrive. So seeing the actual physical book in hard form, and it was like Christmas. I was stood at the window, like looking, waiting for the Amazon guy to arrive. And then actually opening it up and holding it there in your hand is just an amazing feeling. So even just to write a book for that, even if it did nothing thereafter, like just that feeling to see that body of work and all that experience sort of in one place is just a phenomenal thing. So I always say that I believe that everyone has a story to share and a duty to share it. And if you can share that and put it together and get it into a book, you're going to get so much satisfaction from that and also help so many people.
I love that. I love that. Yes, I totally agree. And you mentioned your podcast, right?
So the podcast is connected to the book. So the podcast is called the Triple C Project. And so again, the podcast is also aimed at helping you gain clarity, boost confidence, and build courage. But obviously you can go a little bit further than you can with the book. It's a little bit more fluid. And so we talk about topics that are in the book. And at the moment I share bits about my story. I share some of the exercises that I talk about in the book that have helped me. And so, yeah, I think it's a really good, well, I know it's a really good accompaniment to the book. And I quite like the thing of having those things run together. And the book also, I didn't mention, also comes with a free workbook. So one of the things which I used to do is buy a book, read it, get really inspired, and then not do anything with it and not implement. And I really wanted this to be a book where people took action. So you can read through the book. There are questions and prompts in there, but you can actually just go ahead and get the free workbook. And that then allows you to kind of keep all of that information in one place and really kind of focus on doing that work once you've actually read the book.
I love that. Yeah, you're so right. I actually was just reading a book recently, and my friend and I did a little book club on it. And I listened to it on audio. It was called Never Split the Difference. It's a great book. And the author used to be a negotiator, I think for the FBI and all these different things. But anyway, really has some salient, great points and things to use even in business and all that. And, she'd come to me and we'd have these conversations. And she's like, well, remember in the book, never split the difference. And then, she would say, and I'm like, did I read that part? Like, I don't remember. So you're right. It's like, we're so excited. We get the information. And then it's like, now what? What's the second part of this? It's, how do we apply that and everything? So I think that's a great idea. I love that interactive piece to that.
Yeah. I call that a loop. That's very common in people. So I call it the IIA. And it's like you get the information, and we can acquire information so easily these days on the internet, and it's great. And then we get inspired by that information and we're all fired up and ready to go. But the action is what's missing. So many people fail at the inspirations because the inspiration is like, you're really excited, but then you look at the action, it's like, yeah, it's just a little bit too hard. And the reason it's hard is because you're pushing out of your comfort zone. You're trying to create a new habit, a new way of doing things. And that is difficult. And it's difficult to do on your own. Some people can do it and have that discipline, but for others, you do need that support. So yeah, I wanted to kind of close that loop with the book by having the workbook there, so that you get the information, you get inspired, the book leaves you fired up, and then you take action by doing that work. And by doing that work, that then helps to change your thoughts, reframe your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions to start to get you to think differently and start to make different decisions.
Yeah. And I'm definitely one of those people that I need that additional support. Like that's why I hire these professionals, because I'm like, I need someone to hold me accountable as I'm learning information and applying it. And I have questions, like I need all the support. So
yeah, I know myself, and you know yourself too. Yeah. That self-awareness. It's like, yeah, I hold my hands up, just get somebody to help me out who's going to speak to me every week and say, have you done this? Like, no, I haven't. I mean, hold me accountable. Yeah, I know that. I'm the same when it comes to online courses. I'm a bit like that. And I buy courses and I'm really excited about doing them. But there's always something else that's going to come up, which I want to do or need to do. So that's going to fall by the wayside. What's not going to fall by the wayside is knowing that I've got a call with my coach tomorrow, and I'm supposed to have done some stuff and I haven't done it yet, so I'm going to prioritize that. So that's where coaching is it's really, really helpful.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to go back to that part where you said, if you are thinking about writing the book, and if nothing else, you do it just to hold that author copy. Oh my gosh. So I don't know if you felt this way, but when I first published it wasn't even that long ago. I can't remember what episode I was listening to, but I was like, oh, let me pull this episode of the podcast up in the car to see how it sounds. And I saw it's got a little screen, and I saw the picture and I cried. I was like, oh my gosh, like I made this from nothing. And, like it was just such a cool, rewarding, proud experience. So I totally hear that. And I recommend that for everybody too. So if you're thinking about starting the podcast, writing the book, making art, whatever that is, we are all creative beings. So you tap into whatever that is for you. But oh my gosh, definitely do it for at least that. It's such a good boost there.
It is a great feeling. And I think that we are fortunate that we live in a time where all of the barriers to entry for all of these things have been knocked down. So before I was a lawyer, I worked in the music business. I mean, that was my passion. That was my dream. I was always going to be the next Sean Puffy Combs. I mean, that was what I was going to do. And obviously it didn't work out that way. But that was pre the sort of internet as we know it now, and iTunes and MP3s and all of that, because so the barriers were still there in terms of you needed a big record label to really elevate you to the status where you were going to be recognized around the world. And the fact that you don't need to do that now is just beautiful. The fact that you can just pick up your phone and make a YouTube video and post it, and anyone in the world can watch it. The fact that you can sit with your phone and basically write your book on your phone in terms of getting the text down in your notes app. There's no reason why you can't share your message. And the thing is, there's always going to be somebody who wants to hear what it is that you have to say. Always. Because there are billions of people in the world. There are going to be people who are like you, who are interested in what you're interested in, and who are going to want to hear what you say. People who are slightly behind you in the journey that you're on, who really want to know how to get to where you are. And you can help those people. So yeah, by all means do it. No one can tell you that this isn't great or that isn't great. They're just not your people. They're just not your audience. But your audience will find you, going back to what we said before, if you just keep going.
Get them, Ryan, get them. It's like, yeah, we need this. We need to hear this. So true. And I was going to make a joke of like, even if it's just your mom that is your only family.
Even, yeah. Mums need inspiration too, right? So why not?
I love that. Yes. So needed. And, it also sounds like you've had 3 different lifetimes in one so far, with the music and the law and now with the coaching. So I was going to ask you how you're living your bigger, braver life, but, I'm pretty sure you already answered that.
Yeah, I had a friend, a really good friend of mine once, and I saw her recently actually. And weirdly, just before I got on here, she messaged me to say she's received the book, so she's about to start reading it. But what she called me a Renaissance man was because she's known me for, I don't know how long now. I don't want to say an age myself, but I've done so many different things in that time. And as long as I thought about it, it's like, yeah, you're right. But that's the thing. I like to kind of just, if I like something, I want to go ahead and just do it. So yeah, I mean, bigger, braver life. I still practice law a little bit, but not in a law firm. I'm a contractor when I want, and that kind of helps around the business. I mean, starting a new business, as everyone knows, it takes time. And particularly in the first year, I realized that, I mean, coaching, that's fine. I didn't know a huge amount about all the other stuff to go with business, as we all learn. Yeah. So it's been a really good process. And I think for me, I now just try to do the things that bring me joy. And I mean, I try to do the things that allow me to live life lit, as I say. And I mean, I've got two kids, two young kids, 2 boys, and I want to be able to sort of spend time with them and not be bound by vacation time or being in the office in a particular time and that sort of thing. I want to learn skills which a man my age probably shouldn't be doing, like learn how to skateboard, for example. I've got a skateboard in the back of my car, and where I live in Sheffield, there are a lot of hills, so I'm a bit nervy about going on it around here. But I want to do that and learn new things. I want to try CrossFit. I've never done that. I did the boxing, and I kind of want to try CrossFit. So, I mean, I'm living my bigger, braver life by just doing the things that bring me joy, but also doing things in service of the people who I want to help. And so I still have that mission in my mind. And I think that's the thing, is that I wake up each day knowing what my mission is. And every day I do something to further that mission. And I love what I do. I love coaching. I love speaking. I love writing. So yeah, I'm just keeping on with that.
You're living the dream. Yeah, you're doing it. You're just doing it every day.
Yeah. I mean, you knew that you could kind of get up and write stuff, and going back to what I said, share it, and people would read it, and people would comment, and people would say, I really needed to hear that today. I mean, what's better than that?
Powerful. So powerful. Yes. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Ryan, tell everyone how we can get in touch with you, how we can find you.
Sure, no problem. Thank you for having me again. So Instagram is my playground. You can get me at @I am_Ryan Spence. So I'm always on there. And also LinkedIn, I'm on there a bit more frequently now. In the old days, I used to be on there as a lawyer, just sharing deals that nobody was bothered about or cared about. But now I share a lot more interesting things on there. So if you're on LinkedIn, come find me there and say hi and say that you heard me on the show. And yeah, I'll say the book's available from all usual places. But if you head to my website, IamRyanSpence.com, and click the book tag on there, you can actually find out about the bonus course that you get free when you buy the book. So for a limited time, I'm giving away a course called Triple C 101. So yeah, that course I watched it back before I uploaded it, and I had to say, like, this is a pretty good course. It's short, it's sharp, it's actionable, and the three core modules of that are on clarity, confidence, and courage. And there's one actionable takeaway exercise at the end of each of those modules to kind of help you in those areas. So what I talked about before, in terms of where's the evidence and talking about values and things like that, there's exercise in there that will kind of help to move you forward. So just head to IamRyanSpence.com/CCC, buy the book, put in your details, and get the course. It's really going to help you move forward.
I love this. It's not only a book, it's a course, it's a podcast, it's a whole experience, y'all. So make sure you check that out. Reach out to Ryan. And of course, you're always welcome to reach out to me to help you live your bigger, braver life. And thank you so much, Ryan. And we will see you all in the next episode.
Thank you.